James, Mark, and Ruben share some sweets in the ratio 2 to 3 to 5, respectively. And what that first sentence just means is that the ratio of James' number of sweets to Mark's to Ruben is 2 to 3 to 5, meaning that this 2 corresponds to James, 3 corresponds to Mark, and the 5 corresponds to Ruben. So moving on, it says if James gets 50 sweets, how many sweets were shared? So let's start with question 1. How many sweets were shared? Now, we're told that James gets 50 sweets. Now, let's write an equation for just to reflect what we're told. Now, if you wanted to find out how many sweets James got, you say, well, 2 divided by 2 plus 3 plus 5 times the total number of sweets, which you don't know, so I'm going to call that T. And you're going to say that's equal to the number of sweets that James will get. Now we're told that that number is 50. So I know that 2, well, I'll move on. 2, I'll continue here. I know that 2 divided by 2 plus 3 plus 5, which is 2 plus 3, 5 plus 5, 10, times total number of sweets, which is T, is equal to 50. So to understand this question, you need to be good with algebra. Anyway, so we have 2 divided by 10 times T. T is just representing a number, it's a variable, and it can be rewritten as T divided by 1. Remember, any number divided by itself, or divided by 1 is itself. So A over 1 is A, T over 1 is T, 2 divided by 1 is 2, and so on. So we're multiplying 2 fractions on the left hand side. So that's 2 times T. You multiply the numerators and you divide by the product of the denominator. So 10 times 1 is 10. Is equal to the right hand side, which is 50. And 50 is the same thing as 50 divided by 1. So I'm just going to cross multiply. 10 times 50 is 500, and that's equal to 2t times 1, which is 2t. Anything times 1 is itself. So 500 is equal to 2t is the same thing as 2t is equal to 500. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 2 because I'm looking for t. T is the total number of sweets. Dividing both sides by 2. 2 here, 1. 2 here, 1. 2 in 500 is 250. So 1 times t divided by 1 is t. And we have, well, 250 over 1, which is 250. So there are 250 sweets in total. So the answer to question 1 is 250 sweets. What about question 2? It now asks, it says, well, what will be the largest share of sweets? Well, we know that the largest share is, well, Ruben will get the largest share because his component of the ratio is the largest. Out of 2, 3, or 5, 5 is the largest, which means that Ruben will get the largest share. So to determine the largest share, we find out how much Ruben gets. So that's given by, so this question 2, I'm just changing the color. Ruben will get 5 divided by 2 plus 3 plus 5 times the total number of sweets, which is something we now know, 250. So this is equal to 5 divided by 2 plus 3 plus 5 is 10 times 250. 10 here, 1, 10 here, 25. 5 times 25 is 125. So the largest share of sweets is 125 sweets. How many sweets did Mark get? That's question 3. Well, for Mark, the component of the ratio corresponding to Mark is 3. So Mark will get 3 divided by 2 plus 3 plus 5 times the total number of sweets, which is 250. So Mark will get 3 over 10 times 250. 0 cancels 0 here. So we have 3 times 25. 3 times 25 is 75. So Mark gets 75 sweets. The last question is as follows. How many sweets did Ruben get? We already worked that out. We know that Ruben, from question 2, we determined that Reuben gets the largest share of sweets because the component of the ratio associated with Reuben is the largest, which is 5, and we worked out that the largest share of sweets is 125 sweets. So we know that Reuben gets 125 sweets. So that's the answer to part 4.